Hey everyone, this is Joanne coming to you live from New York. I'm also known as #UnicornBoss. So as you guys are jumping online tonight, make sure you hit me up with some unicorn emojis because that is my jam. And it's also Unicorn Monday. We always do Unicorn Mondays on my page. So I just love to see a ton of unicorns pop up here tonight. If you're catching me live, go ahead and leave me a number 1. And if you're grabbing me on the replay, go ahead and leave me a number 2. So I'm super excited tonight, you guys. We're going to do a little bit of macro talk. I've been getting a lot of questions. A lot of people inboxing me and asking me for help with their macros, asking for explanation on what a macro is and how they can help to incorporate that into their health routine. So I'm going to give you the breakdown today on what macros are and how you can use them to transform your health journey. So I see a few of you guys jumping online. Welcome. Make sure you say your hi and let me know where you're coming in from. If you're grabbing me live, go ahead and leave me a number 1. And if you're catching me on the replay, go ahead and leave me a number 2. If you're a brand new friend, go ahead and comment new below so that way I can circle back around and connect with you. And if we're not friends yet, don't forget to go ahead and send me a friend request and hit follow. We talk about all kinds of high vibe fun things here on my page and I think you'll really enjoy yourself. Hey Shaveya, thanks for joining all the way from Florida. Happy to have you. So awesome. So tonight we're going to be talking macros. And by the way, if you're keto, go ahead and comment keto below and let me know how long you've been on the journey. I'd be curious to see and to go ahead and give you a shout out. And by the way, if you love my page, if you enjoy the high vibe and you learn a lot of things about keto and the health journey, make sure you go ahead and share this video out. I so appreciate your love and support. So who is interested in learning some more about macros or who is confused about macros? If you're confused, go ahead and comment confused below or go ahead and comment macro if you feel like you kind of don't know what your macros are and you could use a little bit of help with it. Hey Jacqueline, thanks for joining. So Shaveya, I hope I'm saying your name right, girl. I'm so sorry. You can type out if I'm saying it wrong. She's keto almost a month and down 11 pounds. Congrats. High five, girl. I am so proud of you. The first month is always the hardest. So if you're losing any kind of weight, even if it's just 1 pound, you should be really stoked and proud of yourself for it. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm saying it right. So I want to do some macro talk because there seems to be a lot of confusion about this. You know, I don't know about you guys. I was kind of one of those geeks growing up that I enjoy the science. Shh, don't tell anybody. But I know a lot of you guys out there are kind of confused by it and it's not necessarily as sciencey as it needs to be. So what's a macro? Macro actually stands for macronutrient, and that's basically what makes up the caloric content of food. Simple, easy peasy, right? So there's 3 different categories for macronutrients. You've got fat, you've got protein, and you've got carbs. So just 3, easy peasy, okay? And I've been, like I said, I've been getting a lot of messages from people and they're kind of saying, hey, listen, I'm keto. I've been keto for 1 month, 2 months, X amount of months, whatever it may be, and I've stalled. I'm not really losing any more weight. What am I doing wrong? So the first thing you really have to examine are your macros. And I know a lot of you guys, I mean, it's okay to long-term not count your macros because I'm definitely a believer that you don't need to track forever. But I really think in the beginning, tracking is so key to actually figure out what your diet is looking like and what kind of food you're putting in your mouth. Because, you know, I used to think, actually, I came from counting calories. For those of you guys that know my story, was anyone out there a calorie counter? If you are, go ahead and comment calorie below. And if you feel comfortable, leave me a number that you were tracking. But for me, I was counting calories pretty strictly, and I was at a $1,400, not dollars, good Lord. I was at a 1,400 calorie limit. So I was already kind of really healthy and being strict with my diet. So when I switched over to keto, I thought like I was going to be wildly successful. And my first month, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it totally sucked. So I'll be real with you. So Jacqueline was also at the magical number of 1,400, and I know how awful that is. And Tara was at 1,200. Girl, that is not enough calories. And I know how painful and hard that was. So I feel you. So when I went keto, because I was already used to tracking, I thought I was going to be wildly successful and it was going to be a very easy transition. And guess what? My first month was really awful. And as I started to track things into my app, I had literally some 40-gram carb days. So for those of you that are keto, you know that you want to stay under 20 grams of carbs. That's like the typical goal. So hitting 40 grams of carbs is like doubling the amount that I'm supposed to have. And I was like, holy cow. I really have no idea what a carb looks like and what food looks like. So that's why I think it's so important. Even if you just take I recommend a full month, do like 6 to 8 weeks if you can, and just track your food, and you are going to learn so much. I get so many messages and people asking me, how did you get so good at keto? Guess what? I tracked and I learned a lot of mistakes, and through trial and error, I started to become kind of good at it. I am not the expert, you guys. This is just how I've come on my own personal journey, and I'm sure somebody out there is better than me and may correct me, but this is my own personal story, and this is what worked for me. Oh goodness, Jacqueline, I know what you mean. Your first month you didn't lose a pound. That is so tough, especially when you're trying so hard. So that's kind of like why I am such a big believer in tracking for at least your first month, because you really need to learn what food looks like. And if you're stuck, there's a really big possibility that you're either A, eating too many carbs, or B, not eating enough fat. So that leads into the next thing that I kind of want to talk about here, is that what is the difference between low carb and keto? Does anybody have any ideas? If you do, feel free to go ahead and shout it out there. I'm going to kind of wait a second and see and read my notes here. But I'm curious, what do you guys think the difference is between a low carb lifestyle and a ketogenic lifestyle? I would love to see if anybody gets it. I've said it before, so if you're following me, you'll probably know the answer already. But let me give it another like 30 seconds here, because I know sometimes the comments are delayed. Anyone know? So the difference between low carb and keto is fat. Fat really is the key. So as I have people message me and they're saying, you know what, I'm stuck. Like, very good, Shabless, got it. Congrats, girl, high fives. So yes, people are messaging me and saying, you know what, I'm stuck. And if you're stuck at all on your health journey, feel free to go ahead and comment stuck below. If you're stuck at a plateau and you've stopped losing weight and you're still really trying and you're not sure what's wrong, go ahead and comment stuck below, and I would love to swing back through and send you a private message and see if I can help you get over that hump. So the difference between low carb and keto is the fat. Fat really is key. And as I'm messaging some of these amazing people, they're telling me that they're stuck and they're not losing weight. And one of the first things I say to them is, are you tracking your macros? And I'm getting the answer, I don't know what a macro is. That was too hard. I tried. And, or that's scenario one, that they just don't know, which is fine because we can teach you, and it's all learning. So all of the love to you. And the second one is they're tracking, and then I asked to see a screenshot of their day or what their macros look like, and they send me the screenshot, and they're nowhere near the fat that they're supposed to have. And what I'm seeing is when you track your macros, you usually have the 3 lines or the puzzle pie. So you've got your carbs, your protein, and your fat, right? And I will see that their protein and their carbs are way bigger than their fat. So for keto, the whole goal of keto is high fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrates. So if your fat is less than your protein or your carbs, guess what? You're really not doing keto. I hate to say it, and I'm sending you all the love through that, but you're not really keto. You're doing low carb. And the whole success of keto and why people lose so weight and transform their lives so drastically is by eating high fat, high healthy fats. Hey, Kina, thanks for joining. So we want to get you to a point where you are actually keto and not low carb. Remember, I say this all the time, you guys, it takes fat to burn fat. So if you're stalled and you're not moving that number, you really need to get yourself an app and start tracking your carbs, and you need to make sure you're eating fat, because fat is going to get you into a state of ketosis, and it is going to help you burn fat. So I don't know about you guys, but I really want to burn some fat. So if you want to burn fat, go ahead and leave me some fire emojis below. Last week I lost 2 pounds by eating high fat, and I also lost some extra weight by doing a fast. So I mean, this works. I've been doing this since October, and I've been playing with my macros for those few months and kind of figuring it out. And what I've found is that I have to hit at least 100 grams of not carbs, good Lord, scratch that, rewind. You want to hit at least 100 grams of fat per day. That's my goal, is to hit that 100. And it's not easy to do, you guys. Sometimes getting enough fat in can be challenging, but I did a really cool video the other day. I think it's called What's in Your Lunchbox, and I talked about some easy ways that you can incorporate fat into your lunchtime meals, and I talked about some great high fat ways and different snacks and things like that. So if you know these little tips and tricks here and there, it's actually not hard to hit 100 grams of carbs, but I remember in the beginning it was a learning curve and I just had to learn it. So I'm going to share a little bit about my journey and what my first month looked like, and hopefully that will be helpful to you and you can start to incorporate some of these things into your practice, so that way you can take your weight loss to the next level. You can learn how to truly eat a ketogenic, high-fat form of eating, and you can start getting past that plateau and losing weight again. So if that sounds good to you guys, go ahead and leave me some hearts below. I appreciate the love and support. So first things first, you need a really good application to track your macros. So, you know, when I reach out to people and they say, a lot of times they'll say, when I ask them what their macros look like, they'll be like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. You guys, please know, you don't have to figure it out. And thanks for all the flames. I appreciate that. You don't need to figure it out. I am not a mathematician. I don't do numbers. I don't do these things. That is like not me at all. So there are free applications that you can download that crunch all of the numbers for you, which is amazing. Thank the good Lord. So one of my favorites, and I've tried a few different ones, you know, initially I started with MyFitnessPal, which I really don't feel like is really meant for the ketogenic lifestyle. I know some people use it and they really love it. Always use what works best for you. I really didn't like that one as much. I tried Carb Manager for a little while, and while I did like that one, I felt like it was especially difficult that when I was trying new recipes at night to try and combine the ingredients to see what the macros look like for my day, it was not that easy to do, and I was very frustrated about it. And then one day somebody told me about the Senza app. It's Senza. I love that one the best, and there's a few reasons why I love it so much. The first thing is that it really does the profile setup in such an intuitive and easy way for you. So definitely try downloading Senza. I highly recommend it. It's free. And so, you know, I'm not promoting it or anything. I just really, really enjoy this one. It's going to ask you some questions when you first set yourself up. It's going to ask you like what your height is, what your current weight is, and what your goal weight is. And it's going to calculate based on your height and your BMI what you need for your macros. And it's going to give you the numbers all set nice and easy for you. Now, I know when I first set up my Senza, it actually gave me a little bit too many carbs than I really wanted to have per day. So if you want to override it, you can actually go right into the account settings and make any adjustments. So if you want to lower your carbs a little bit, you can. If you want to up your fats a little bit, you can. The other cool thing about Senza is kind of like Facebook, but for keto people. So you can actually make friends in the app and you can see their daily food log. So like if, like for instance, if you were to friend me and you were like wanting to scope out my day, you could probably get some really great ideas about easy ways to get fat in for your day, which is pretty exciting. It's Senza, Dottie. And Kina, let me know how you like the zoodle recipe. I'd be so curious to know. Hopefully you loved it. It's one of my very favorite recipes. Thanks for typing it, Eileen. I appreciate that. So I lost my train of thought. So we were talking about inputting everything into the Senza app, right? Okay, so one of the other things that I really like about it as well is it's got recipes in there. So if you're looking for recipes, it's kind of like Pinterest. It's got some recipes in there. Occasionally I'll go in there and I'll look for a few different things, which is pretty cool. But here's my favorite thing. Actually, two of my favorite things about the app that I really love. The first thing is if you want to combine ingredients to make, like, let's say, I'm kind of like easy, you guys. Like I typically usually always take the same old salad for my lunch every day unless I'm eating leftovers for my dinner. So I have like a recipe in there that I put that's called My Salad. So when I type it in, I just put My Salad, it comes right up, and then I can open it up, and in there I have all of the different, you know, however much salad I put, how many cucumbers, how much green pepper and chicken and cheese, like it's all in there, and it's just, it's saved. It's amazing what you can do. So like every morning when I have my bulletproof coffee, it says My Bulletproof Coffee, and it's got my exact measurements, my supplement that I put in there, as long as with my grass-fed butter and my coconut oil. So it's already pre-comboed, and it's all right in there for me, which saves me a lot of time from kind of like adding everything in individually, which is really, really cool. So, and then the other thing that I really like about the Senza app is that it gives you ideas. Let's say you go out to eat at Applebee's or what, like a main chain normal restaurant, and you're keto and you're like, oh gosh, I have no idea what I could get off the menu. You can actually go in there and hit search nearby restaurants, and it'll give you keto friendly options in a pinch, which I find to be super helpful. I don't need it so much anymore, but when I was brand new and I really didn't know what was good and what was bad, it really helped to steer me in the right direction. So yeah, and actually Eileen, I'm thinking about talking about doing a special live on Bulletproof Coffee maybe sometime this week. So I'm gonna hold off on it right now and pause for now. I'll give you a quick answer, but make sure you tune back to my page for the video where I'm gonna go more in depth and talk about Bulletproof Coffee and why it's so special. But really quickly, Bulletproof Coffee is a high-fat coffee that's meant to jumpstart your body and get your body producing its own ketones first thing in the morning. So you wanna do anywhere from 1 to 2 tablespoons of grass-fed butter and coconut oil, and then just blend it in like I have a Ninja, or if you have a NutriBullet, you could just blend it up, and you could maybe add a little bit of MCT oil if you have it, though be very careful with your MCT oil because it can upset your stomach, so make sure you go very slowly with MCT oil. But anyhow, you just combine it up and it'll give you like anywhere from, I know my Bulletproof Coffee, because I add a special supplement to it, it gives me 38 grams of total fat per coffee, which is a huge push towards my daily fats for the day. And I'm telling you, Bulletproof Coffee was a game changer for me in getting my healthy fats in and helping me hit my fat macros. So if you're not doing a Bulletproof Coffee, make sure you look into that. And thank you so much for the suggestion. I really appreciate that. So Senza, get yourself it, and the goal for your macros, and after you put everything in, this is what your macros should look like if you're keto. You want to be 70% fat, 25% protein, and 5% carbs. So, and it will do that all for you. So it's always 70, 25, 5. Remember that if you're keto, okay? So my first month, I made a lot of mistakes, like I said, and there was a huge learning curve. And I'm seeing a lot of messages from you guys and comments on the live feed and whatnot, where some of you guys are being awfully hard on yourselves. I'm all about loving yourself and being gentle, you guys. So if you are not getting the results that you want right now and you're brand new, just know that that's okay and that's normal. Please be gentle with yourself, and please know that it's a learning curve. I made a lot of mistakes my first month. I had a lot of 40-gram carb days, and I was like, good Lord, I really don't know what food looks like. So I would say start small. I feel like a lot of people are not successful in their keto journey because they jump in all in, and then they start to drown because it's a little bit too much at once. So this is what worked for me, and if you can do more, by all means, I'll be your biggest cheerleader. But for me, the best way to learn was I first started focusing on my carbs. The goal for keto is you want to try and stay below 20 grams of carbs per day. And let me take a quick side note here right now. I'm chatting with a lot of you guys, and I hear you telling me you're trying to stay at like under 10 to 15 grams of carbs. Good Lord, please stop doing that. I don't know who is telling you guys that you need to be under 15 grams of carbs per day or 10 grams of carbs per day, but that's like crazy. You can be at 20 to 25 grams of carbs per day and be keto and still lose a ton of weight. So please stop limiting your carbs too much, because that is a sure way to set yourself up for failure. It is very hard to hit even 20 grams of carbs. So if you're shooting for less than that, it's just way too hard, you guys. Please don't do that. Plus, it has the potential to not be healthy, because your carbs should really be coming from healthy things like your veggies, all of your greens and things like that. So I'm wondering, if you're limiting yourself to 10 grams of carbs per day, how are you getting in your greens and your proteins, like your eggs and your cheeses and things like that, if you're only having 10 grams of carbs? So that's way too low. So minimum 20 grams of carbs per day, 20 to 25. If you're brand new, start at 25. And then when that's easy, you can lower it to 20, okay? And if you're somebody that's already healthy and you're working out a lot, you can actually up yourself up to 30 grams of carbs per day if you're working out very regularly. So you can see 30 to 25 to 20, we're not saying 10 or 15 anywhere in there, okay? So make sure you're not limiting yourself to anything less than 20 grams of carbs. So here's the thing. So my first month, I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot of things about food. I started to learn what a carb actually looked like. And by the end of the month, guess what? And I didn't think I would ever get here, but towards the end of my month, it started to feel easy. Believe it or not. So I actually started to get the hang of it and get through the swing of things. And by the end of my first month, carbs became easy to me. And I was like, I started to know what a carb looked like, how many I could eat, what it would look like, and how it would affect my day. So that's step one goal, learn your carbs and get those all sorted out. And once you're really confident at that, guess what the next step is? You're gonna really start focusing on learning what fat looks like. So that was what happened to me. I was finally doing a good job with my carbs and I saw that macro number, and on the Senza app, it's towards the right-hand side. And I saw, that it was mostly blank, that I was really not filling up my fat line there. And I was like, wow, I really got to start working on how I can fill up that fat gauge there. And I started to discover that it was actually really, really hard. But it's not hard. Once you learn, it becomes very easy. So there's lots of tips and tricks. And maybe one night I'll do a live, like just tips and tricks on how to get fat in on the daily for your keto routine. Okay. So you're focusing on your carbs. Once that's easy, you start to learn about your healthy fats. And here's the other thing. So as a lot of you guys are messaging me, you're also telling me that you're not feeling hungry. So I just want to let you guys know that when you're brand new and you're keto, it's very normal not to feel hungry in the very beginning, which was very unusual for me because I was a binge eater. Are there any binge eaters out there? If you are and that's something that you struggle with, and if you were addicted to the sugar and you had lots of cravings, go ahead and hit me up with some of your favorite carb emojis below. I would definitely be giving like a ton of taco and like chocolate emojis if I was typing right now. But for me to go from constantly feeling hungry and having those cravings to like not wanting to eat at all, it was like kind of weird and scary. And then of course, because I was used to tracking calories, as I was starting to learn and track my keto macronutrients, I started to see that I was not getting any calories in. I remember having some 900 calorie days, and that was like really scary to me because I knew how hard it was to limit to 1400 calories. So all of a sudden to have less than 1,000, I was like, oh my God, am I gonna die? Like, am I eating enough? Like, I was like, those are things that actually went on in my brain. That's like a little peek into the mind of Joanne there. And I love all the carb emojis. Thanks for the love, you guys. So yeah, I was like actually concerned. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna die? Am I not eating enough? So just know in the very beginning, when you start eating high fat like that, the urge to kind of eat goes away, which is kind of magical and beautiful. And it will slowly come back, but it never really comes back to the way it did, thank the good Lord, because I love the freedom of not having food rule me anymore. And I love having control over my cravings and all of my food and things like that. So, and one thing while we're talking about calories, I want to mention too, is that when you're keto, you're really not worried about calories. I don't ever look at my calories. I don't care what that number is. I don't panic about it. I'm worried about making sure my fat and my protein and my carbs are where they need to be. And it's very intuitive. Like I said in the beginning, it's going to be difficult, but then it starts to get easy. And here's the biggest tip I can give you, and that's what the last thing I have here on my list, and then we will close, is that eat when you're hungry. The whole goal of keto is that because you have this reduced hunger, you are going to find it strange that you don't really need to eat all of the time. And that's why most people who are keto start experimenting with intermittent fasting. And that's what happened to me. And that's what I encourage you guys to wait for. A lot of people, when they're brand new, they jump all in and they start reducing their carbs, counting their protein, counting their fat, and then they throw in fasting as well. And then they get the keto flu and their body just goes through such a shock that you start to feel sick. So I just feel like it's a little bit too much at once, and then people end up quitting because it can be too much in the beginning. So start slow, manage your carbs, add on fats, and then start to start to focus on learning how to intuitively eat when your body feels like it's hungry. So what happens for me is I typically intermittent fast. So after my dinner, I fast all the way till lunch the next day. And depending on how strict you want to be with your fast, technically I break my fast to have a bulletproof coffee in the morning, but I don't really count it, even though technically it is a fat. It just depends on how difficult, not how difficult, but how strict you want to be with the science. But I don't eat during that whole time. I do have the bulletproof coffee though. And yes, Mandy, my favorite app to use is Senza. So eat when you're hungry. That was kind of one of the hardest things for me to break, because, I was used to eating at certain times of the day. So once I started to listen to my body and to kind of have more have more intuitive eating. That's what I want to say there. Sorry, I was getting tongue-tied. But be more intuitive about your eating and the way that feels. And what I found is I was very able to naturally start intermittent fasting as a part of my regular keto routine. But I didn't get there right away. It took me about a month to get there because I was very gentle with myself and I let the process become very natural. So eat when you're hungry. And when you're hungry, try to eat fat first. And that's really how you get your fats in for the day. And it's like something that's super, super helpful to me. The other thing is, last tip I have for you, is that the goal is not to fill the gauges on your macro application. So I kind of made that mistake. I was doing very, very good in my keto journey. I was losing a bunch of weight and I was only eating when I was hungry. And when I was hungry, I tried to eat fat first. And then all of a sudden I got really excited about how my macros were looking in my app. And I was like, oh, well, I need to fill up my fat gauge. So let me eat some more fat. So let me eat some more protein. So let me eat more and more and more. And all of a sudden I started to backtrace a little bit because I was more worried about filling the gauges. And I forgot the number one rule is to only eat when you're hungry. So the gauges are there and they're meant to be a symbol of what your goals are and to kind of see how you're playing with your food, but you don't want to necessarily fill them up. You just want to eat when you're hungry, and when you're hungry, have fat first. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video tonight and learned a little bit more about macros and about how easy it is to get those set up. If you have any questions about macros at all, go ahead and send me a message. I've been helping a ton of people get set up, and I have a bunch of cheat sheets that I can send you to help you kind of learn in the very beginning. And yeah, so let's see, I have a question here. How do you eat fat first? So, I mean, basically it depends. Basically, you have to start learning about what foods are high in fat. So I'll do another video about that sometime this week because I think it would go really well and segue with this topic here. But things like olive oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, pepperoni, cream cheese, things like that are high in fat and they will help you boost those healthy fats for the day. I'm trying to think of other things. Avocados. What are some of your favorite fats? Go ahead and feel free to shout it out so that way Lanisha has a few examples. So those are some of my very favorite fats to have. Keto beef jerky, that is a keto-friendly beef jerky. You have to be careful because a lot of them have sugar on them, so make sure you read the back of the nutrition label. Also, one of my favorite ways to increase my healthy fats for the day is to do a full fat salad dressing, like a buttermilk ranch, like an olive oil. So things like that. And so when you have your fats, you want to try and eat fat first. And then what you'll find is that the fat is very sustainable. You feel full. You start burning that fat, which is it's a very clean energy. You feel alive and well and just like on cloud nine, and it truly does feel amazing. And that's why so many people love this lifestyle. So yeah, I see a bunch of you guys are interested in cheat sheets. So go ahead and comment cheat sheet below and I'll send you some of the information I have. These are just things that I found as I was learning and just kind of researching things. And what I did is I made a little keto album in my phone. They're photos and I save them there. And even now to this day, even though I've been keto since October, I still go in and I check my cheat sheets because sometimes I'm just like not sure, I can't remember, and I'm like, oh yeah, and it really helps to ground me. I've also got a great keto shopping list, so if anybody wants the shopping list, you can go ahead and comment shopping list below and I'll make sure I get that over to you. So, and I see a few people asking for questions about what is a macro. Marlene, you'll have to go back and watch the replay because I spent this whole time here walking you through the macros and how to set it up. So thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, to share this out. I appreciate your love and support. And if we're not friends yet, don't forget to go ahead and send me a friend request. So wishing you all a very happy Monday. I'll be back here tomorrow, and hopefully we will do, well, tomorrow we always do Transformation Tuesday. So I'll be looking forward to doing that with you. And then this week, we'll make sure to do some cooking and some keto kitchens together. So thank you all so much. Take care. Have a great night.